to Insights. I'm Eric. Thanks for stopping by. Today we're going to talk about Bitcoin, Ethereum, some of the crypto. We're going to do an open review. It's going to be short and it's going to be quick and it's going to be a reinforcement of what we've been talking about in the restricted content reviews as well as the Bitcoin report. I'm going to say that the invisible hand warned us, and if you didn't listen, it's really up to you. That's your opinion that overrode the evolution of the trade, the setup, and everything that we had talked about. We had warned about the primary trend flipping down. We can see them here, down 3 months for Ethereum, 5 months for Bitcoin. These were returns that were having a difficult time getting organized. And I said, well, that's how it starts, and be cautious about that. Don't get fooled. When primary trends flip, they tend to get focused and they tend to bury true believers. And if that's where you stand, that's what's going to be happening to you. Does this mean that Bitcoin's going to disappear? Well, if it's going to disappear, it's going to disappear as the primary trend turns down. It's going to get challenged. There's many ways to make an asset disappear. It can be restricted, it can be challenged, it could be made non-functional. It doesn't have to go to zero, but in many cases, some people are going to experience that. I mean, we're not going to go into detail about the setup in terms of the evolution of the trade. I will just point out that the primary trends are relatively early. The composite trends deemed early. The Bitcoin is mid, but it's just barely above zero. If you think this is just finishing up here, you really don't understand what the invisible hand does. You don't understand cycles. And that's the whole intention of this stuff. I mean, you get a subscription into the Matrix in order to follow this stuff. You follow the invisible hand because it's a lot smarter than you are. It was designed a while, well, decades ago, because the self is destructive and the invisible hand is the only opinion that matters. Now, if you want to fight it and you want to fight it full into a body bag, go ahead. You're not going to be the first one. We will have failed to achieve our goals with the investment discipline that's provided within the evolution of the trade in Bitcoin. But that's, it only carries a few people along. I know some people heeded the warning that was taking place in crypto, even if they slipped to the sidelines, which I've said that this market is a difficult market to short, but it's a lot better than watching on the sidelines and getting ready to step back in than it is to get obliterated and get taught by the 2x4 being struck upside your head. And we've talked about that before, so we're not going to go into too much detail. What we want to do now is where do we go from here? These primary trends are relatively young. We need to see an energy build. So we're going to talk about that. You can click this link here and you're going to pull up this chart. And one of the problems that we've had all the way down is as price has declined, there has been relatively almost non-existent accumulation. I don't care what the Bitcoin experts say. There's no expert that's smarter than the invisible hand, and it is not buying this dip. So you can go and find out some reasons why this is a good thing. This is a bad thing in terms of the stuff that we follow. So that's all we care about. We're going to need to see accumulation into this dip. As the dip accelerates, this price flipped along. This is Bitcoin's 37% down from its flip now because these markets move. We're going to talk about where it's headed towards as well. None of this is going to be a surprise to anybody who's watched these videos. If you're not watching these videos and you're investing in Bitcoin, well, or any of this stuff, then you're going to get taught the old-fashioned way. The best we can do is introduce you to the invisible hand, teach you through it, and if you can't, we can help walk through that stuff so that you don't get the 2x4 upside your head. So what are we looking for going forward? We're looking for bullish energy builds, a concentration above 60%. So far, it's been non-existent. Now, we have seen the number of participations fall off of a cliff. That's a good sign for now. What we're going to do is now, as the price is breaking down, is this going to uptick? Are we going to have an expansion in participation? Or are we going to see a continued contraction? If we're going to see a contraction, that at least starts to make a case for a legitimate bottom. But you ain't going to see that until this energy build picks up, and it's going to have to be a lot better than this, and that's not open for discussion. Take a look at some of the reversals. Everybody who's watched every part of the report, and the report is an ongoing conversation. I think if you're involved in this space, it's absolutely critical. And if you're not watching those updates, then you get what you deserve within this market, at least either shorter term. And what will happen is probably longer term, because the short term translates into different fractal time frames, which eventually translates into the long term. And if this thing disappears, it won't just disappear overnight. Now, these reversals we've talked about, and you can go look up the reversals inside the reversal tab here. You can go look at, well, I think we've got them pulled up. Well, maybe we got them. See if we can, we follow GBTC, and there it is. And we'll copy these over just for the sake of argument. Everyone else has watched this stuff, has seen this before. And there they are. We're going to copy this box. We're currently at 1909. We knew we were in trouble after 2747. A line in sand, the last red line here fell. That means these reversals are above. Now we're targeting the green lines. Well, the scary part is that we're at 1909, and scary part was that when we closed below 2747, we had flagged 13, 1340, 1330, 1346, and then a whole bunch of 11 handles underneath that as the next wave for this to drop. And if you're busy calling a bottom, I'd be asking, where is that reversal zone? You need some sort of congestion in order to catch price, and that doesn't exist until we're down at 13. So, whatever. I mean, you guys, and I'm not talking in general, the majority is going to see what it wants to see. It doesn't recognize an air pocket. So they're going to get their heads beat all the way down into the next reversal zones. If we're following these on the reports and we're following these in the review, which I'm leaving this one open, but the next ones won't be, this is the things we're going to be talking about. Will the computer find new reversal zones? We'll find out. I mean, these are updated. They're fairly stable, but they are updated pretty regular. They're updated after every trading day, so we'll see if the computer sees anything else. The one thing that I've talked about inside the report that we don't talk about too much is the Bitcoin risk on, risk off money flows in directional, and that's now flowing below zero, which means risk off. And I've said that anytime we have an unshaded regions, which now we're starting to see that, an ass beating takes place inside crypto, and that is exactly what's going to be taking place until this climbs back above the dotted zero line. But for now, we're still below, and we're still trending towards, excuse me, towards these reversals above or below 13 handle, 11 handle, and there are some that are lower than that. The computer will bring them in as we get closer into the lower zones. But for now, we're inside that air pocket, an air pocket that the bulls don't want to talk about. Really, we're not bullish or bearish. There just is what it is, and the invisible hand is dealing with Bitcoin the way it deals with every other market. Look at this stuff, focus, understand what the invisible hand is doing in terms of the fractal trends, in terms of the energy build. You can go and see and look at the Bitcoins and Ethereum's pro charts. You can see there's a ton of professional selling. Go and download your matrix and look at the pro index inside. Click these links and you can see that they've broken out to new lows. I didn't include it here because it really doesn't matter anymore. I had warned that it was doing that before, and I don't think anyone was really listening. It's going to get to the point where if you don't pay attention here, Bitcoin's going to take you out, and it'll become irrelevant. No one will care, and I can close out the Bitcoin report because everybody who's bullish will just disappear. And the few people that stepped aside, that could be less than 5 people, yeah, they'll be there to play another game. They probably are profiting off of this. If not, they're saving their money. But it's not going to help to build another report. And you can't build a report off of 2 people's interest that is left in crypto or other things. Just let it be a lesson. If crypto disappears and it gets yanked out of the matrix, there'll be other markets that'll do the same thing, and don't let it repeat again. If you have any questions about Bitcoin, I would watch this again or contact us or subscribe to the Matrix and cut through all the expert out there that are going to bury you in the space, and consider watching the report that we put out on the report page for Bitcoin. Thanks for watching, and we'll talk to you guys later.